learn from you because, like, I just like find motivation one of the most important things you have as an entrepreneur, as in everything. But I've always wondered where it came from. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about like the science behind it and technique.
Mhm.
I consider myself a motivated person, but I think every single person in the world can always be 1% more motivated every day.
Yes.
You're like, yes, good. So thank you everybody for joining us. We are here on session 3 of 22 sessions that we've built exclusively for the Study New South Wales community. This event is 100% funded by the Australian government through Study New South Wales as a gift for all of the students that are living in New South Wales and are planning on moving to New South Wales. So today's amazing topic is how can we increase motivation, which is motivation is like, it's almost like a fire and a fuel that keeps us going, right, Ush? And where does it come from? How can we get more motivated? And I think it would be also beautiful for us to learn about it and pass it on, because I see that now more than ever in the last 2 years, we need to not only motivate ourselves, but also our friends and family. Oh my God, I can see Rudy logging in from Guatemala. Wow, what an honor. So we are doing this session on Zoom. So for those of you guys that are connecting through Zoom, unmute yourself, put your camera on. We want to see your beautiful smiles. For those of you guys that are logging in through Facebook, you can write all of your questions on the chat box. And for those of you guys that are watching us on YouTube, hello. And you can send us messages and we'll reply there as well. So please connect with us everywhere. Connect with Ush, myself, Kiara, and everyone within the Academy Spinners community through Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, so we can all make the world a better place by uniting our strengths, because all of us are good at different things. Ush is amazing at coaching, motivation, and emotional intelligence, so we're here to learn from her, but there's a lot that she can learn from you as well, or we can collaborate between businesses. Totally. And that's what we're here. And I think that will also motivate us to do more when we get acknowledged and we get results by doing what we love. So please connect with us absolutely everywhere. And the hashtag of the day is Boss Your Future, and tag us through the Academy Spinners, so we can reshare everything that you guys are learning. So Ush, how did you get into the topic of motivation? What was it in your life? Or was it a book? What happened that you just fell in love with this topic and started empowering everybody to be more motivated?
Yeah, look, I think we hear the term motivation all the time, right? Like it's always there, as kids we hear it, in school we hear it, in uni, in our jobs. And I guess for me, the turning point was setting up my own business.
Okay.
And it was a case of having self motivation and that drive to do really well. So I'm like, well, I need to know how to motivate myself, and also the science behind why it works and sometimes why it doesn't. So for me, the journey started when I set up EQ Academy about 8 years ago.
Oh wow, so good, so good. Looking forward to hearing about it. And yesterday we had a very interesting meeting with an entrepreneur who was the first person to join the LinkedIn team in Australia's history.
Oh,
And he came over. Yeah, I'll introduce you to him afterwards. Amazing entrepreneur. And he was talking about like procrastination, like it's just natural that we all put things at the side. And he was talking about how he bought a book for procrastination and he hasn't even
hasn't
opened
read
it
it.
for over a year. And we're like, wow, that would make an awesome LinkedIn post. But it's hard because there's so much distraction. You kind of like, you go into your comfort zone, and all of us, there's so much area for improvement, and we always have a little bit more energy. How do we motivate ourselves to keep going? So amazing. So Ush, over to you. I'll mute myself and let me know where you want me to click, and I'll click on the next button for you.
Thank you. So I guess I just want to start with, I guess, two things, and I always sort of ad lib. You'll hear me talk about things that are not on the slides. So two things. First of all is, for me, the word that goes with motivation hand in hand is action. Yeah. So we could be motivated and talk ourselves up and, be amazing, but we're not really motivated until we actually start to take action. So if you want to measure your motivation, because people always say, how do I know if I'm motivated or not? Like I feel motivated, but how do I know if I am? So my answer to that's always going to be, what action are you taking? Okay, so that's number one. Second thing to mention is, I know we're all coming up to the end of the year, and a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs tend to sort of wind down now in preparation for Christmas. And for me, it's the opposite. So for me, I sort of ramp up, and on the 1st of September, I have a planning session with myself and I on my business. And I go, right, what is it for this last 3 months up until Christmas? And even through the break, is it that I want to achieve? So for me, that motivation doesn't dwindle, when the rest of the businesses are sort of dying down. And I think it's just really important to, block out some time in the year that you go, what am I going to do from a planning perspective to really ramp that up? And I've noticed that I've been doing this now for the last 3 years of my business. And it gives me such a good break over the few days of Christmas because I've done my planning, I've worked hard, and I've mapped out where I want to be in the new year. So I don't know if any of you guys do that or not, or if you sort of tend to slow down after Halloween or Thanksgiving, whatever it is for you guys. But yeah, I just wanted to flag those two things. And then I guess the third thing to mention as well, a little bit about like similar to what Paula just said about the guy who bought the book on procrastination. And, I've done a lot of coaching with some amazing people around the world, John Assaraf, Bob Proctor. Even today I was doing my brain training and I've done over 600 days today, I counted, of continuous brain training for 30 minutes a day. And I was like, my God, like I've done over 600 days. And that's like huge commitment to do 30 days. And I was just reflecting back for this session going, what's made me do the 600 days? Like, I wonder what is that one thing? And the answer to that is two things. Is I know my why. So I know what it is that I want to achieve at the end of doing my brain training and the impact I want it to have on me in my life. But also, it's something that John Assaraf said to me, and he says, we can do coaching, we can hire coaches, we can read stuff, we can have the best mentors, but it's only going to be shelf help, not self help, because we tend to just put it on the shelf or put it in a drawer and we don't implement it and we don't take action. So he said to me at the beginning, I can give you these tools, I can tell you how to develop, new neurons in your brain and overcome fear. But if you don't take action and do it, then there's no point. Like, you're not going to get anywhere. So yeah, just a couple little preamble things to share as I was reflecting. So self-motivation is definitely an essential skill for development, okay? So not only in your personal life, but also professionally. And as I just mentioned, if you understand your desires, your values, and your priorities, then you can actually increase your motivation and really channel your energy into reaching that fulfillment. So if you're at a stage where you have your own business, it's not enough just to have a yearly goal. Have quarterly goals, yeah, where you can keep a track every 90 days on where you're at. And it's okay if you don't meet those goals at the end of the 90 days. The trick is to go, right, how far have I come? And do I need to push something into that next quarter, or am I on track? So a lot of people talk about these big, I think it's called BAHG, big, audacious, hairy goals, which I think are great, but it's also about micro goals for me around motivation. So what are your micro goals? And a really good example of that was I was doing this 11-day detox fast thing a couple of weeks ago, where you are intermittent fasting for 2 days at the beginning and 2 days at the end of the 11 days. And all I could think about was, oh my God, like how am I not going to eat for 2 days? The irony of it is I can go a whole day without eating, but the fact that I know I can't eat made it really hard for me. Like, I was just wanting to eat all the time. And the person I was doing this with said, look, have a micro goal. Just get through your hour by hour by hour, as opposed to going, oh my God, I can't eat for 2 days. Yeah. So it's really good to have those big goals. But if you're someone that needs a little bit more motivation, definitely break that goal down and automatically you'll start, getting where you need to go. And the other thing I like to share here is that if you are motivated, you'll actually start attracting opportunities and resources, right? Have you ever noticed that? That the more open you are, the more motivated you feel, and you don't worry about the how, somehow opportunities just come your way. The path is shown to you one way or another. So when someone says to me, oh, I've got this goal, I'm really worried, I don't understand how I'm going to get there, I don't know what to do, my simple answer is take action every single day and motivate yourself. and those opportunities will just start to flow. And I'm a big believer of the universe delivers when you make a decision. So if you make a decision on what it is that you want to achieve, the universe will go, okay, cool, she's onto this. I'm going to start now sending some stuff her way. And it's about frequency, right? We've talked about this in one of the other sessions, that if you're on the frequency of motivation, then you will start to attract certain things. And I haven't put it in this slide, but there's something called the Hawkins scale of emotions and frequency. And if you guys look at it, you'll get to see that every emotion has a frequency or a vibration attached to that. So if you're feeling anxiety, despair, hopelessness, you're low vibration. The middle point is actually courage and hope. So that's sort of the middle neutral point. And then when you break through that and you go into feeling motivated, joy, happiness, you take action, you're actually vibrating energy wise on a higher frequency. So it's almost like a case of the more motivated you feel, the more good you're going to feel, which will give you more motivation to do better, right? I think you guys have all have heard that. It's like that weight loss journey. You see a bit of a result on the scales and you go, oh, okay, that's great. I feel now motivated to go to the gym again next week. So yeah, just start taking action, and remember, start thinking about vibrating on a higher frequency. Um, so three things really here. I mean, there's so much content on motivation to give you guys, and we've only got the hour, so I really wanted to give you the main points to help you. So the three big things that you're going to take away from today is values, know your why, and know your one story for hard times. So we'll go into this in a little bit, but values is really important. If you don't know what your values are, professionally or personally or both, it's going to be hard to stay motivated. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So it's really important to know what your values are, what you want to achieve, the type of friend you want to be, the type of partner you want to be, the type of parent you want to be, the type of business owner you want to be. Break that down into what are your values, what are you going to accept, and what are your boundaries. Second is all about knowing your why. We're going to talk a little bit about that and watch a video on that. But you've really got to be clear on why you are doing what you're doing. What is your purpose? Whether you're a business owner, you're studying, you're looking for that next promotion, you've got your first job. At whatever stage you are in life, you've got to know your why. And I talk about my daughter a lot in my sessions because I'm constantly coaching her, but she's 11, and one of her whys and big goals for this year is she wants to be school captain. So we were talking about it last night, and I said, yeah, but why? And she goes, I don't know, I just want to do it. And I'm like, nah, not good enough. And I said, you are not making the application until you know your why and you know what values you want to have as school captain. So like, that is the stuff that, I teach, whether you're 11 years old or whether you're in your 70s or whatever it is. But know your values and know your why. And then also know your one story for hard times. And we'll touch on that a little bit at the end. But when you do feel, demotivated, it's what is your go-to story? Yeah. Like, what is that one thing that drives you? And, my story really is when I set my business up, it was in EQ 8 years ago. EQ wasn't really well known 8 years ago. People weren't talking about it. And a lot of my family, friends, and people around me were like, you're mad. It's not going to work. Like, this just isn't going to work. And they weren't doing it to be mean. I think they were doing it with a little bit of concern, going, are you sure you want to quit your job? Are you sure you want to go down this path? So that's my one story for hard times. I keep going, I just got to prove it to all these people that I did do what was right for me. It was my passion. I knew my why. I know what my values are. And look, we're here presenting this to like how many people are going live on Facebook. So yeah, just really connect with that one story that you got, whatever that is. So we've got a little bit of a video to watch. It's not too long, but it's a really important one about, why you need to have a why. And if there's anything you take away from today outside of those 3 points, is what Simon's going to share about that why. So we'll have a bit of a watch.
story is kind of not that different to a lot of people, to be honest. I had a good career in advertising and was working on new business pitches and stuff for the company I worked for. And I lived through September 11th in New York. And, you know, September 11th affected many people in different ways. And one of the things it did to me was it made me feel like my job was stupid. My office was really close to Ground Zero. And I remember coming back to work when we were allowed to, because the area was closed for a few weeks. I remember going back to the office just thinking, what value am I providing here? Like this industry and my job are ridiculously stupid, you know? And so I already had an eye on sort of doing something else, and I had an entrepreneurial spirit. And I considered myself more of a marketer than an advertiser anyway. And so I quit and started my own business with a partner, and went to do something that I thought was in my vision, you know, not theirs. And it went really well for 3 years. I mean, when I say well, meaning we survived. It's never like that, you know. It was more like that, but we did okay. And there's over 90% of all small businesses fail in the first 3 years, and we made it.
You didn't.
And we didn't. We joined a very elite club, you know. But year 4 was very different for me. I had already bought out my partner, and I completely lost my passion for what I was doing, and I didn't know why. And people say stupid things to you, like follow your passion. You're like, I'm doing the same thing, and I don't know that do what you like. I was confused as to what it was. Plus, I was embarrassed because superficially my life was pretty good. I made a decent living. We had amazing clients. Like, we had blue chip clients that we had no business having at our littlest company. We did great work, well respected by our clients, and yet I didn't feel it. And so I was very embarrassed by the fact that, like, you know, I'm unhappy, you know, it's like everything looks just fine, you know? So I didn't talk about it. And I would say that all of my energy, instead of going into building my business, all of my energy went into pretending that I was happier, more successful, and more in control than I actually felt, which is a pretty dark space.
Yeah. But you're the leader of that organization, so you have to put that.
So you put on this air that you got everything under control, and your family asks you how you are, and everything's under control. You know, I would go to business conferences to learn how to, like, build my business, and that actually made me feel worse because I'd have all these people standing on the stage telling us how we should build our businesses, and all I could hear was everything I was doing wrong, as opposed to what I should be doing. And so it actually made me feel even more depressed. And it wasn't until a good friend came to me, concerned about me. She saw that there was something different, and she was worried for me. And I remember the conversation. She was very nervous, sort of coming to me, like, you know, trying to approach, basically challenging, like, your life is not as you claim it is. And it really allowed me to admit that I was unhappy, and that gave me the courage to find a solution. The fact that I had a friend in my corner who was there that I could cry to and say, I don't know if I can do this, gave me courage to find a solution. And I was very lucky. There was a confluence of events that happened around the same time. Long story short, I was able to discover that this natural occurring pattern based on the biology of human decision making. Every single organization on the planet exists on the same 3 levels: what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. Everybody knows what they do. I knew what I did. Some people know how they do it. I could tell you what made me different or special or stand out from my competitors, but I couldn't tell you why. And so I realized, until I was able to articulate that piece, that my life was out of balance. Everything was out of balance. So I was obsessed with this thing called the why. Figured out how to find my why, restored my passion to levels I've never experienced before. Unbelievable. Did what anybody would do or does when you find something beautiful. You share it with the people you love. And that's what I did. So I shared it with my friends. And my friends started making crazy life changes. And they would invite me to their homes to share it with the people they loved. And I would literally, it all started, I would stand in someone's living room in New York City, and people would sit on the floor, and I would give this talk about the why. That's how it all began. And people just kept inviting me to do it. And I would help people find their why for $100 on the side. You know, that's how it started. So there was never a time where I said, this will be my career. This I can make my millions with this thing. You know, this thing has commercial, value. It was never that. It was always something to share for free. It wasn't a commercial or academic exercise. It was always something just to be shared because it had value, and that was it. And so that's how I went on.
I love Simon Sinek. I think if you really want to know about your why, he's got some really, really good videos, and they're not long. They're about 9-10 minutes, and you can have a look at them on YouTube. But he actually does teach you how to find your why. And he also explains why some people do it the wrong way around. And he sort of alluded to that in that video at the end to go, people go, what is it that I can do that's going to make me money? What is it that I'm going to do that's going to make me successful? And that's not the answer. Your why is all about what are you passionate about? What are you wanting to do? What's your mission to change the world? What is your reason for being here? And if you do that and you work on that, the money will come. Like it really does. And I'm living proof of that. Like I was able to quit my job, teach about EQ when everyone's like, nah, no one's going to want to learn it. And 8 years later, I'm still here. So, and I'm not homeless yet. So it will be okay. Yeah. So just really work out what your why is, and it will totally help you get motivated. Um, and it's all about here. It's about lighting your own fire. Yeah. So what is it that makes you want to light your own fire? The other thing I like just putting here again, I've talked about it at the beginning, is action, action, action. So, sometimes it's okay to wait for inspiration, look at what other people are doing, get inspired, hear stories. But you don't have to wait for this big aha moment or for something to like fall into your lap to go, right, this is what it's going to be for me to start my journey. Go visualize, go spend some time self-reflecting and connect with you and your soul and work out what it is that you're drawn to. And then write that down, share that with other people if you want to, and take one bit of action around that and then go, right, is that going to lead to something or not? And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Go back to the drawing board. But I do talk to people when I'm coaching them, and it's almost like they're waiting for this sign from God or from the universe to go, this is your purpose. And it doesn't always happen. Yeah. Again, the universe will reward action. Just start doing something, start journaling, start thinking, start visualizing before you go to bed at night, and see what happens. That's a really cool way to start increasing your motivation. Also simplifying. So there are these 4Ds that I learned years and years ago, but it's something that I use all the time. I find, especially when I'm coaching CEOs at the moment, everyone is so time poor. Everyone is so busy, and they're like, I don't even have time to motivate myself because I'm just doing. I'm constantly working. I'm constantly, looking after my family. Oosh, you say visualize at night. By the time I get to bed, I just fall asleep, right? So just think about ways that you can simplify your day-to-day life. And this is a really cool, quick tip for you guys, and it's called the 4Ds. So with anything that you've got on your plate, if you feel a sense of overwhelm, which I sometimes do with stuff, I put it in one of these categories. So you either do it because you have to, right? And you have to, it's part of your job. You've got that meeting to do, you've got a presentation to do, you've got to make dinner, you've got to feed your kids, whatever it is, put it into the bucket of do it. There's also a bucket of dump it, which is actually, do you know what? I've decided I'm not going to do this anymore. It's not something that I want on my plate right now. I'm going to just dump it and I'm just not going to do it. Then there's delegate it. That is, do you have something on your plate that you can get someone else to do because you're just so time poor? Can you hire a virtual assistant? Can you ask your mates for help? Like, what is that? Can you actually delegate that? And then the fourth one is it something that you can push back to a later date? Can you do it in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, in 3 weeks' time? So if you do feel a sense of overwhelm where you're not able to motivate yourself, write a list of everything that you've got on your plate and put it in one of these 4 buckets. I promise you at the end of doing that exercise, you're going to go, okay, I feel a bit more calmer. I've got a little bit more time now. Now I can go back to motivating myself to do what needs to be done. More focus also leads to increased motivation. Okay, so once you've got rid of that overwhelm, you need to start having a bit more laser focus of what is it in your life that you're going to do. So sometimes it's really hard to be motivated when you've got so many different projects, so many different things on your plate. I know probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I was in this situation where I had so many plates spinning in the air that I actually go, you know what, stuff this. I've got no motivation to do anything. And have you ever felt like that before, where you just want to chuck it all in? Even though there's something really good, it's that saying, right? You throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I was talking to my coach about it, and she's like, it's because you are spinning so many plates. Like, take off 3 of those plates, choose 3 to focus on between now and the end of the year, and then really get laser focused on what you're going to do. So you don't want to be in that state where you just go, oh, it's too much, and everything just drops, because then you've got no motivation, you've got nothing. So just if you do feel like that, then just think about how much have you got on and what can you simplify in your life. And that will really help. And then you've got to focus on your accomplishments, okay? So sometimes I find that we always look at how far we are away from what we want to achieve. Yeah. So we always look at, well, by the end of this year, I wanted to write and publish my book and sell 1 million copies. Or, by the end of this year, I wanted to have 2 more new clients. Or by the end of this year, I wanted this, this, this. So rather than doing that and focusing on the lack and negative, one thing I always do, and I actually did a Facebook post on it today, is a bit of a nighttime routine. So my nighttime routine is really powerful to help me stay motivated, and it's really simple. It's when I know I finished work for the day, I spend a couple of minutes just cleaning my area, like in my lounge, and I put a candle on. It's just a symbol to go, right, work is finished, it's now time to wind down. So that you just got to have a bit of a cutoff between work and home, especially now that we are blending our work environments and home environments. The other thing I do at the end of the day is, and we had the session on gratitude last week, but I find one thing or one person that I'm really grateful for, and I will, live that experience again in a few moments at the end of the day. And then I look at my calendar for the next day and I go, right, just check what I've got on. Because if I don't do that, I'll be thinking about what's on for tomorrow. So I just spend a couple of minutes, check what I've got on for tomorrow. And this is a really cool tip for motivation, is you find one thing in your diary for tomorrow that you want to achieve. And it's a sort of a non-negotiable. Yeah. And I do that every single day, and it is so good for like motivation, because you know that no matter how busy your day is, you've committed and you promised yourself to do one thing that you're going to do the next day. So it might be that you're going to spend 30 minutes on some admin tasks. It might be that you're going to set up a meeting, or it might be a task that you need to accomplish. But if you just mention it and say it to yourself the night before, it's a really, really cool way to start increasing your motivation. We're also often at our most happiest when we use our brains to problem solve, when we use our brains to visualize and measure our progress. So for that, I want you guys to start thinking in specifics, about what it is that you've achieved. So that is why I always, at the night before, I will do one thing that I want to achieve the next day, because I know that by the end of that day that I've done it and I feel really good. And it could be something as small as make sure you walk your dog twice a day, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a massive big task, but it's the sense of accomplishment of just one thing that you said you were going to do, and you kept your promise to yourself. No one needs to know about it. And you do that. So your brain really does like specifics, which is why I'm saying talk about it, say it to yourself, what it is that you're going to do. And also think about how far you've come. So I always do this rear view mirror test, right? We always hear, don't look backwards, focus on your future, but which is all great. But it is sometimes nice to look back and go, what have I achieved and what have I done? And that's why your, 90-day or quarter plan sessions are amazing, because not only are you looking forwards to what it is that you're going to achieve in the next 90 days, but you also spend a little bit of time going, what is it that I have achieved in the 90 days that have just happened? Because if you don't spend those few minutes self-reflecting on what you've done, it's really hard to motivate yourself. It really is, because you're constantly in lack mode. You're constantly going, I've got this to do, I've got this to do, I've got this to do. So do spend a bit of time appreciating just how far you've come, no matter how small that is. And shift your motivation from getting to giving. Yeah, this is really important as well. So when I'm having a day where I feel stressed or overwhelmed, I literally say to myself, right, I'm not working today. I'm going to serve today. Like I literally just say those words, and nothing changes. I'm still doing the same work, right? But it's a mindset shift to go. I'm not just at work. I'm actually here for a purpose. I'm helping someone. I'm helping you guys. I'm sharing knowledge with you guys in this session today. Yeah, I'm in service, and it's just a really small shift that you say to yourself, but it really makes a difference. It really motivates you to go, you know what? You're right. I am in service, and I can't let these people down. So sometimes we just need to remind ourselves that it's not always hustle and grind. It's not always work, and there's a reason for us doing what we do. Um, and I've also noticed, again, me in neuroscience, is that, if we do come from a space of service, yeah, and a space of giving and servant leadership and all of those amazing things that we do, then you start to get more creative, you start to get more abundance, you are really satisfied in the work that you're doing. And you start to follow your purpose, you start to follow your why. And it really is, it's just a really small shift that you need to take, but your brain is like, oh, this feels good. It doesn't feel like work, it doesn't feel like a chore, it doesn't feel like another task to get paid. It's a shift to help. It's a shift to go, I'm going to serve. And the more that you do that, the more that your brain will go, right, again, high vibe, high energy, high frequency, and the more that will come back to you. Um, and again, if I don't talk about feelings, I wouldn't be an EQ coach. So, systems are great, especially for productivity and self motivation. They're really important. But for me, it's all about, feelings. It's all about, your emotions. Yes, our brains are wired to follow systems and processes, but it's also about what it is that you feel, think to plan, but you also need to feel to be able to take action and act. Yeah. So don't get so caught up in, the planning, the 90 days plan, all of that sort of stuff that I know that I'm telling you to do, which is important. But be guided by your own intuition, be guided by what your soul and what your heart is speaking to you, and that will automatically help you drive your motivation. So how do you rile up those emotions and get things done? It's as simple. It's just to really start getting positive about what it is that you're doing. And it's scientifically it's proven that when you're in a bad mood, yeah, when your emotions are low, you're on low frequency and low vibration, you tend to procrastinate. Yeah. So to start getting in action mode, you need to start doing something that's going to raise your frequency, raise your vibration. It's easy for me to say get positive, but you've got to work out what makes you feel good. What makes you feel happy? Is that going for a walk? Is that eating some comfort food? Is it dancing around your apartment? Is it putting music on? Is it going to the gym? Work out what activities raise your vibration and make you feel good and release those amazing hormones. And that will automatically start shifting you from that bad mood or that negative energy that you're feeling. And if we look at like the military, when they're teaching, people to toughen up, they don't teach, just specific techniques. It's also about your mindset, your optimism, and especially when you don't want to feel it. So, sometimes it's really hard to motivate ourselves when we're stuck in a routine or we're stuck in a rut. But you've got to have that awareness to go, I know I'm not feeling so positive right now, but I'm going to start shifting this. I'm going to start celebrating what I'm doing really well. I'm going to talk to someone. I'm going to just take a bit of a break from what I'm doing, and I'm going to gather that energy and that excitement. And, the more of that you can build, the motivation will come. It really does. But you've got to be aware of how you're feeling. Yeah. And then just to end, I guess, we probably should have done this at the beginning, but anyway, we've done it at the end, is why do we lack motivation? Yeah, just a bit of a recap. First one is because you don't know what you want. Yeah, you're not connected to your why, you're not connected to your values, so you've got no roadmap basically. So how can you be motivated to achieve something if you don't know the roadmap or where you want to go? Second one is you're not in control of your physiology, and what I mean by that is what I just spoke about: your mood, your energy, your vibration, your feel good feels, and your brain as well. The other reason why you might lack it is that you've made lacking of motivation part of your identity. So what I mean here, if you've done all of my other sessions before, it's about your inner story. So if your inner story is constantly, well, I'm never motivated, I'm just lazy, I'm just not smart enough, then you are going to lack motivation. Yeah. So you need to change that and make self-motivation a part of your identity. And then the last one, which we don't always think about, but it's so true, is we're lacking motivation because we haven't given ourselves a big enough goal. Yeah. So we haven't given ourselves what we call a stretch goal or a C-type goal. And just to clarify, a C-type goal is achieving something that you haven't done before. And I'll give you a really, really quick example. Let's say your goal is to buy a brand new car. Yeah. But if you bought a brand new car 2 years ago, your brain knows how to buy a brand new car. Yeah, it's not something that's gonna motivate you. So what you want to do is to go, okay, I want to buy a brand new car, but I want to buy a better model, a one that costs $20,000 or $30,000 more. That is going to motivate you to go, right, what do I need to do here to achieve this? So if you feel like you're lacking motivation, go back and work out if your goals are too small, and then go triple them. And just on that note, it's funny, when I was doing my brain training and my ASARAF training, they gave us this goal which sounded stupid, but the goal was to make our annual income, whether we're in a job or a business, into a monthly income. That was our goal, to turn our annual salary into a monthly salary. And I'm like, what the hell? That's like 12 times what I'm earning right now. So that was a goal to like really motivate us and go, right, we can do this, however long it takes, whether it takes 3 years or 5 years. My goal in my business was, from when I set it up, to make my annual revenue my monthly revenue. And that's something that drives me, and which is my big why. It could be that you're overwhelmed. So if you are overwhelmed, the 4Ds that we mentioned, go and do that exercise. That's going to help. If you are prone to procrastination, it's going to be hard to self-motivate. So the fix to that is micro goals, like I mentioned, and one tiny step of action, and that will help you get out of procrastination mode. The other one is that you might not be specific enough. So like I said earlier, your brain needs to know what it is that you need to achieve. So start talking to yourself about the action you need to take, and automatically that will lift your motivation. And then the last one is that you are seeking motivation where you should be seeking habits. Yeah, so what I mean by that is, do you need to change certain habits to help you get more motivated? So again, if we look at the weight loss journey, do you need to create a habit of training 3 times a week to get to that goal? Do you need to train a habit of eating well and making really good food for yourself 3 times a week so that you can hit your motivation? So go back to seeing if you need to amend some habits, and the more that you work on your habits, the more motivation you'll start to get. And then I wouldn't be a coach if I didn't give you some questions to ask yourselves when you're lacking motivation. Thanks, Paula. We'll just go to the next slide. So you want to have empowering conversations. So ask yourself, what is the most recent accomplishment that's made you feel proud or successful? Yeah, that will be one that will elevate your vibration and motivation. Second one is, what is the one step I can take right now to move closer to my goal? That is obviously to help you take action, but I'm actually getting you to answer that question so you can do it. And then 3 is, if I achieved all my goals, what will my life be like? Now, the reason I'm asking you to ask that is, if you can visualize what your end game is, that is automatically going to motivate you, right? If you can see that bigger picture. So for me, if I can turn my annual income into my monthly income, that's going to change my life in so many ways. I can help so many other people. I can build the school in India that I want to build. Like, I will constantly visualize about what I want to do with that, and that will help me get motivated in my day-to-day doing of life. Number 4, what is the biggest obstacle or roadblock that's going to stop you from reaching your goal? Yeah. So this one is removing your procrastination. This is getting you to put on the table what the hell is coming in your way, because sometimes we're lacking motivation because we know that we have to overcome something, but we don't want to do it. So speak about it, get it out on the table, and then work out what you're going to do. Ask yourself where you want to be in the next 5 years. Again, that's making you look at your bigger picture to create that motivation in terms of a big, audacious, hairy goal. Where do you want to be in 5 years? And then the 6th one is, what is the one goal that if I achieve it, everything else is going to be easier? Yeah, that's a really cool question to ask. And there's so many responses you can have for that. So think about what that looks like. And it might be changing a habit. It could be something really small. It could be waking up earlier. It could be building a routine in your day. What is that one thing you're going to do that's going to help everything become a bit easier for you? Oh, just finished just in time. That was a lot of information there. I feel like I spoke really fast. Hopefully you guys got value out of it.
Thank you, Ush. Thank you. So amazing. Thank you for sharing all the techniques, the questions. It's so important. I can see Rudy's logging in from the other side of the world. He's almost 24 hours behind. Rudy, what did you think of today and what motivated you? What time is it in Guatemala right now? What motivated you to join at this time of the day? Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's 1 a.m. And I think that a big motivation for me is, like right now I'm starting up my business. So as you know, it's like the most important phase of an entrepreneur. You have a lot of emotions that go around you because some days you think that it's going to be the best idea and that everything is working out. And the next day you think that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to log in and watch this amazing presentation from Mush. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining in so late.
Ush really has a very inspirational business that's absolutely going to change the world. So he won our pitch competition between 3 different governments on the other side of the world in Latin America a few weeks ago.
Wow.
So he's revolutionizing the way that we're going to clean the air through a subscription model where you put algae in your house and it cleans, called Oxyfit.
Oh my God.
I'm going to share a little bit. What inspired,
Please.
what's motivating you? And I can see your business is pivoting so fast. Like every time you send me a text message, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud. So what motivated you to start and what keeps you motivated? Because you've got a big challenge ahead, like from like intellectual property to registration to distribution of algae around the world. How are you motivating yourself every day?
Yeah, just like Kush, I had received some coaching from a big, hairy, audacious problems. And that's how I decided to start something that revolutionizes the world. Because as an entrepreneur, since I was a kid, I developed like many traditional ideas, but basically, like the end goal was just to seek for money and not create like a big impact. So that's why I thought about it, meditated about the idea, and it started to develop slowly because it has, like Paula said, pivoted a lot, searching for the correct material. First it was like active carbon, and active carbon doesn't really solve the problem. And then like I researched for many other materials and I ended up on microalgae. So yeah, I think it's about having big, hairy, audacious like goals, but starting like one step up, taking it like one step at a time, slowly, and just like advancing little by little. And like you said, have an end goal is always important, I think.
And I love what you were saying, which is the little wins. Like, as us as an entrepreneur, you get really excited. It gives you butterflies in your stomach, the excitement. But then if your goals are too big and you don't know the little goals, that your daily goal, your weekly goal, you've got nothing to celebrate. So when the challenge comes, you just feel so lost. But if you're celebrating, what I do, well, linked to what we spoke about last week was gratitude. I think gratitude and motivation are so connected.
Very
If you
much.
can be grateful every day for certain things in the morning, the end of the day, your brain starts rewiring, how can I bring more of that into my life? And then that just fuels you with more motivation to go to bed happy because you've achieved those things. But also when you wake up, you're motivated to continue achieving because you know what motivates you, what gets you excited, and you start looking for more of that in life through your community, through learnings, through tasks, progress. Yeah, so Thank you, Ush. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
And
you so
especially on a day like
much.
today. Today's kind of like a public holiday in Australia. So thank you for making time, for being here with us. We're
Welcome.
super grateful. We're super motivated. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And Ush, what are we learning next week?
So next week we're doing stress busters. Yeah. So what are we going to do to help manage stress? So yeah, make sure you join in next week. It's going to be pretty epic.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Yada, for organizing everything so
Our
beautifully
pleasure.
today. Big
Thank
hugs,
you,
lots of
guys.
love. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.